Good evening, Bula Vinaka and Namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Tonight we will be speaking to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, who has agreed to come on the show mainly to talk about our National Development Plan, where consultations have started on the ground after stakeholder consultations. But we also will be looking at what are some of the specifics. Thank you very much for your questions that have also come through, your concerns that you have raised. I'll try to ask as many of your questions as possible during our show. But Professor Prasad, thank you again on behalf of our listeners and users for coming to the show.
Pleasure to be here again, Vijay.
Now, work on the National Development Plan is underway. Public consultations on the ground have started. Please explain the importance of the development plan.
Just before the importance, Vijay, when we came into government, we looked at the 5-year and the 20-year National Development Plan that the Fiji First Party and Fiji First government had done. And in the 6 months before the budget, what we found was that it was actually obsolete. Partly because of lack of comprehensiveness, partly because there was no specific targets, and we realized that this plan, was probably just done to, create a hype that there is some sort of plan. And so in the budget, we made a very clear announcement that we will formulate a new national development plan. And we also took the view that any plan that needs to be developed, particularly a long-term plan, coupled with short-term, medium-term, has to be done with proper consultation and dialogue. And so that was the motivation for the coalition government to make that announcement in the budget. And what we also said that plan will be ready at least by the time that we announce the next budget or soon after that. And as part of that process, we began. We have a consultant, provided by the World Bank. We have 2 other people. We also set up the National Strategic Planning Office. In fact, that planning office was completely destroyed. There was no planning office. So I'm wondering how they actually did a national development plan. So this planning office has got a very good process. What we did was, we've done the basic, baseline documents, looked at all the data, and after that, all the institutions in government, all the different ministries, right from His Excellency the President's office to the military to the police, every department has been taken through, as well as a broad range of non-governmental organizations have participated in it. The reason why we're doing this, because we want a new plan to be a very, very holistic, well-targeted, and with specifics. So that's why we have a 3-year plan, we have a 5-year plan, we have a 20-year development plan. So we can separate these and say, in 3 years, we want to do these specific things, and we can talk a little bit about that. So that's the gist of why we're doing a new national development plan. And right now, the next stage is to consult people on the ground, and there's an extensive program that is out there, and I'm told by our people that a lot of people are coming in, and a lot of good ideas are coming through.
You're getting a lot of big turnouts in Serua, Namosi, right up in the highlands even.
Because the reason why Vijay people are turning up, because people for the first time after 15 or 16 years have realized that this is a genuine consultation, where people are not afraid, where people can come and say things. People can tell that the government should do this or the government is not doing that. And we as a government, we have demonstrated this very clearly. So, there's so much freedom and so much accessibility to the government machinery for people to, and I'm not surprised that there's so many people are coming in quite willingly.
So you have a 3-year, 5-year and 20-year development plan. No doubt your immediate concerns, you're trying to address them in the 3 to 5-year plans?
The reason why we have a 3-year plan is because we finished a year. We would finish another half year this year. So what we are saying is we've already put in plans as part of our budget. For example, in health, in education, and so there are some quick things that we want to do, which were left hanging for years, so that the quality of life, the services that we provide to the people can be addressed. And we have already started that. So that's why we got 3 years. And we know that not everything can be done in 3 years. So we have a 5-year plan that, okay, those things that can't be done in 3 years may take another 2 years. And then we are looking at a 20-year plan so that whichever government, is there, after 4 years or after 8 years, that there is a plan which talks about what the country ought to be by the year 2044, what sort of Fiji we want. And in a real democracy, Vijay, that's what governments ought to do. That one government starts something, carries on by another government. There are things that we, I know some people, who are not in parliament now, they said, this was Fiji First project. What do they expect? If they've completed half the bridge, we leave the bridge hanging? We will have to do that. So every government, and so this plan is going to be a very rational, well thought out, well discussed, and something that we can carry on as a country. That's the nature of this development plan that we are thinking of.
What's the expected cost of these consultations? We know that it is an important exercise, you're saying. How much will it cost?
The government had allocated $200 million, 200,000 in the budget itself. We may need some additional, in terms of the extra consultation that we're doing, but we will give you the exact amount. But it's money worth spending, because, as you said, people are turning up. Even if they're talking about immediate things, that shows us as a government, what we ought to do and plan. People say, for example, we need this road to be tar sealed. We have to prioritize, and we have to say, okay, in 3 years, we're going to do this X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, and then
no promises that will be lasting only as a promise, but execution will be there?
Execution will be there.
Depending on the priorities.
That's why we're having this 3, 5, and 20 year. We could have said, we're doing a 25-year plan or 30-year plan or 10-year plan. We didn't do that because we realized that there are some things that needs immediate attention, that needs attention now, that will need attention next year, that will need attention in 2026 and beyond. So whatever we think we can do quickly and which is a priority, for example, fixing all the health centers, fixing roads where it connects the economic activity, allows school children to come. We need to fix that immediately. So that's why a 3-year plan is important.
So people want action. We'll go straight into the action issues.
Sure.
You hit some of the priority areas to the people who are watching, and I'm going to ask you about your plan for health. Just recently, the General and Chief Pediatric Surgeon, Dr. Josese Turangava, raised serious concerns. He said, we've got a 500-bed hospital at CWM Hospital. Population has increased, the hospital has remained the same, and unfortunately it has not been modernized as well. He said it will take patients admitted with a suspended appendix in Navua 2 to 3 days for a bed to clear off at CWM. He also highlighted 8 operating theatres. The hospital, 3 or 4 are functioning, half of them are not. He talked about surgeries being done, ceilings falling off, some of these things really concerning. You have seen these statements and you know what's going on. Previously, I don't think a doctor would be able to speak publicly on these types of issues, but what is being done about it?
Precisely, Vijay, let me start from there. The fact that doctor can bring out and highlight reflects the philosophy and the understanding that this government has about addressing the issue head on. Now, when he talked about population, when he talked about falling roofs, ceilings, when he talked about beds not enough, this is not a problem that just came up 6 months ago or a year ago. This has been a problem that should have been seen for the last 15, 16 years. And nobody in the previous government, including the people who were in charge, were prepared to even talk about it. I mean, when we were in opposition, we used to take pictures of broken windows, and we asked the question why, and that is why in the budget, Vijay, we made it a priority. We increased the budget for health ministry by $53 million, one of the highest allocation. Then we realized that maintenance had not been done. Health centers around not just CWM hospital, health centers around the country were falling apart. You go to Draketi, you go to Vanikoro, you go to Nasori. Nasori Health Center is now being fixed. How many years Nasori Health Center was falling apart? Why wasn't being done? Because they were concerned about some novelty projects, building new things, not repairing and maintaining what was there, which could have saved the purpose in a big way. So, as I said, he is absolutely right that some of these things that he is now talking about, he would not have been able to say a thing about it in the last 15 or 60 years under the previous government. Now he can say it, and we realize that that needs to be done. So a lot of work is being done. I can give you examples of health centers which have been fixed. Draketi, Korovo, Nasori is being done. Kandavu is being done. We're looking. I went on a tour of the West. I went to Singatoka Hospital. We built a hospital in Kayasi. When all that money could have gone into the Singatoka Hospital, we could have put an ambulance there. We could have equipped Singatoka Hospital, which would have looked after all the people in the Singatoka area. We went to Nandi, and we realized that the biochem machine, which provides the results for blood test and all that, 500,000 cost. I was only put in there recently. Before the patients would go for a blood test, you have to wait for a few days. It has to go to Lotoka. Now, if they do it in the morning, they get the results in the afternoon. If they do it in the evening, they get the results in the morning. I went to Tabua Hospital. There was no washroom. And these are things that were not being done, not because the money was not there, or not because the allocation was not there. It's just that the attention was not being paid. So, simple answer to your question about health. Health is a major priority for this government, and we have demonstrated our action by including a big increase in the budget, putting aside specific allocation. I talked about this before, specific allocation for buying, for purchase of equipment, machines, so that people could be tested, services could be provided, diagnosis could be provided in an appropriate time. So that's the priority of the government. And in fact, if you look at our future, plan, in the next 3 years, we want to improve health service delivery experience for patients through continued strengthening of primary health care and improved, continuum of care. Because primary health, everybody knows in this country, we used to have very, very good primary health care. And part of the reason why so many people are ending up in hospitals is because the primary health care, primary intervention is not there. So that is our focus, in the next 3 years.
One of my concerns was I spoke to the International Women's Association Fiji President Judy Compain, and she recently did a successful fundraiser, and that was because the Children's Hospital did not have an echo machine to test for rheumatic heart disease, which is quite concerning, and the Children's Hospital lift was not working. So as part of your priority list, will you be looking at other stakeholders, working with them, and compared to how it was done in the past?
Absolutely, Vijay, and I want to thank Judy and all her team and everybody who's come around. One of the things that we did as soon as we came into government, as you noticed, we have quickly dismantled that attitude of not working with the NGOs. We brought them in the summit. We are talking to them. We brought them for our National Development Plan consultation, and we want to work with them closely. It's not so much that the money was not there. The funds were allocated. There are systems that are clogged. For years of what I call lethargy, approach, and so that all those blocked arteries are being cleared, and we have a very competent, good Minister for Health, and the problem that he has been landed with, years of what I call not only mismanagement, but years of neglect. So his job is overwhelming, and we really appreciate people like Jody and other organizations who are concerned, who highlight this. And we really appreciate it, and we will obviously work with them to make sure that not only we are able to provide funding to non-governmental organizations, and we are going to seriously look at how we can do that through a scheme in the next budget, so that all these people are brought together as part of the government's urgent effort to improve our health service delivery in this country.
I'll stick on health because there's been a lot of questions about health. I speak on behalf of all the pregnant mothers who go into CWM hospital. Lack of beds, they say they sometimes have to lie down in the corridors. You would have known this, and issue about when they have a very painful surgery, the cesarean instead of normal delivery, that they're expected to be up and walking not too long after surgery to ensure that they clear the bed for the next person coming in. Knowing that numbers have been limited, the previous government kept allocating and saying there's an extension of the maternity hospital, but it has never eventuated. We've seen only the big poster outside. What is being done about that?
Yeah, that big poster was put before the election. So Vijay, in fact, we're sorry to hear these stories. In fact, no one should go through that, and especially pregnant mothers. And that is why we, in the last, the expenditure has been a bit slow, I have to admit, by different ministries. And what we are expecting a lot of the ministries to do was to plan well before the budget. So as soon as the budget was allocated, they could start the execution as soon as possible. Sometimes, things get delayed, through tender process and other financial management, procurement processes. We appreciate that, but the point that you have made, is important, that we cannot have that situation. So the Minister for Health knows this, we know this, and we from the Ministry of National Planning, the Strategic Planning Office, we have set up a monitoring and evaluation. And so we are going to take particular interest now in making sure that we actually monitor what the budget has been allocated. So if we say that the budget is allocated to improve, to ensure that all the basic health facilities and the equipment, is required for particular medical service delivery, is provided for, we must make sure that it is done, procured, and provided at an appropriate time.
The ministers have been told to do
Ministers
that,
have
to
been
deliver?
Ministers have been told to deliver that, and I think sometimes the ministers are working very hard. They get of course sometimes the civil service process and procedures and the habit can become an obstacle, and that's another challenge that we have for the government. But we are confident. Many of the civil servants in many of the ministries are working very hard, and I want to thank all of them. They're trying very hard to understand, because they are also sometimes overwhelmed by the level of deterioration that they have inherited or that they knew was not done. So it's a collective effort, and we are trying as a government to create this thinking and campaign and appreciation and understanding, so that we can all work together. And this sort of questions, Vijay, and public's articulation of the problems is useful. I mean, we don't mind, when people complain about, what's there and what's not there, because it does help not only us as politicians, as ministers, but also our civil servants. So the media is very important, and we thank you for highlighting some of these things every now and then.
So by when will the extension of the maternity hospital be done?
I can't give you the exact time, Vijay. If I give you a time now, I'll have to check with the Minister for Health. Obviously, the last time I spoke to him, he was very clear about improving. For example, he was telling me about all the lifts. The tender process is gone. The procurement is in the process, and once all the lifts that were not working, particularly in the maternity unit, should be fixed soon.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
I've always resorted to drugs because of the work that I do as a coping mechanism.
You said you started sex work and drugs at the same time?
I was 12 years old.
Do you believe, based on the current situation, your salary and allowances should be reviewed and reduced?
Definitely, I think it should be reviewed to reflect what is there in the market.
Is the government of the day promoting nepotism within our community and hatred towards Indo-Fijians?
Thank you very much. The answer is no.
$1 in $3 of our taxes goes towards servicing our debt. So you can't say it's nothing.
There's also the need to do financial inclusion a bit better.
What is your message to the people who may rate you as not good enough for finals rugby?
Success doesn't just happen overnight.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Wait, where am I?
Oh, you died, bro.
I'm dead? But why?
Got it, that's what happens when you change your playlist when you're driving?
Crashed.
What? No, this can't be happening. I had so much left to do in life. All I do is stare at my phone because I'm Gen Z and we're all anti-social.
Aww.
And I wish I did so
Poor guy.
much. But by the way, do you guys have Wi-Fi up here?
This is why you should have listened to F96 Drive. You shouldn't let them play that music.
And you just drive.
No! I can't believe this is happening. It wasn't
When you're
even
done,
my car and I didn't have
Hell is
car
that way,
insurance.
eh? Yeah?
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, and we're talking about the National Development Plan and the priorities of the coalition government as we move forward. As he said, we've finished the first year, we're into the second year, and what are the immediate concerns in the first 3-year plan, a 5-year plan and a 20-year plan, going back to health, because there's another issue about whether we need another hospital, and I believe you're speaking to India about it.
So Vijay, there are two things. One, I think, is about the CWM hospital, and I can say that the Australian government has already provided funding to look at the feasibility of a master plan and what we can do with respect to CWM. While that is being done, the Indian government, the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, in Papua New Guinea, when he met our Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka, announced the building of a multidisciplinary super specialty hospital, and I can say with a lot of satisfaction that the work on it has progressed very rapidly. We had an Indian team visiting Fiji late last year. I had a meeting with the Indian High Commissioner today. I met Dr. Jay Shankar, the India's External Affairs Minister, in Delhi recently. And the Indian government is keen to accelerate and start the project as soon as possible. And that would be a huge development, because it will be about tertiary care. For example, the first phase will look at heart surgery, will look at treatment for diabetes, kidney, and those related to it. So it's something that this government, our Prime Minister, put it as a priority when we came into government. And so our very early initial discussion with India, when Dr. Jay Shankar visited Fiji as part of the World Hindi Conference, we had started the discussion. And so the fruits of that discussion about a year ago is already there. That is a very, very significant development. And as I said, when I was in India recently, I was told that that would be a big priority for India, particularly in the area of health, not only in Fiji but throughout the Pacific.
There's a question coming in, and it's topical at the moment, about coalition government. A person is asking from the US. He said he voted in the last elections, and he's asking, why is the coalition government not taking any action in relation to new laws coming up to increase the fines and to putting heavy jail sentences on drug lords in Fiji? Now, the Illicit Drug Control Act for Fiji, 2004, I checked through that law, and the law clearly states that the maximum penalty of cultivation, even importation of drugs, is up to $1 million fine and or life imprisonment. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it, knowing that this is becoming a big issue for us?
No, I thank the person for asking that question. I think it's a very important question. But as you know, having laws is one thing, but having the capacity and having the will as a government to do something about this problem, this is not a new problem. This is not a problem that just started yesterday. You remember that when we were in opposition, the current Home Minister, Honorable P.O. Tikundundua, had actually moved a motion in Parliament asking the government to set up a national inquiry into the drug problem in the country, because we knew when we were in opposition that this was a huge problem. And so what this government has done, I mean, part of the reason why
that motion was defeated in Parliament.
Motion was defeated in Parliament, and Honorable P.O. Tikundundua was assaulted thereafter by the then Prime Minister. So, but that's history. But as a government, and some of us were in opposition, we made sure that this is going to be a priority for government. And the Minister for Home Affairs, and the fact that people are now being nabbed, this whole drug issue, people have been arrested, the drug hole that is taking
It's
place.
always been there.
It's always been there.
We've had the 2 billion meth bust.
Exactly.
We've had the 12 kg cocaine bust.
Precisely.
It's just coming out from all angles now.
Everywhere. And people are now coming, as the Minister for Home Affairs said in his interview, the people are coming out now because they don't fear. They are now coming out and giving out information. And we want to thank the members of the community, and partly some of these discoveries or the arrests that have been made is based on the information that the police have got from the members of the community. So, this is a big thing that this government, the coalition government, has decided to address. And people in this country have to understand and be thankful that here is a government that has the courage, that has the vision to actually see that this was a huge problem. And it's not going to be solved overnight. It's going to be an effort by whole of government, different institutions. And the Minister for Home Affairs has already said, I think, on your radio station, Vijay, that we still need a national inquiry to actually look at. I mean, part of the things that I raised when I was in opposition about this change in the pharmacy laws, and how people were setting up pharmacies, and whether there was any link to the drug problem that we had. These were all issues that we were raising while we were in opposition, and so we have made good of that promise that when we come into government, we are going to address this fundamental scourge. It's a national disgrace that we have not been able to address this in the last 10-15 years, and the blame on this, and I have to say this, people say, why keep blaming the previous government? This is a problem that we've been handed with. It is partly because, not partly, wholly because of the neglect, willful neglect by the previous government when they knew that this was a big problem.
Now, the issue in relation to this is we're doing national development plans. One of the things that has to be taken into account, we need to be careful of the next generation, because the way the drugs is available on the streets, it is a concern. We may have a cancer spreading so quickly that can destroy so many people and the families, and that's already happening.
You are absolutely right, Vijay, and we should, as a country, all be concerned about the impact of this on our future generation. And this is why, our Prime Minister, our Minister for Home Affairs, and all of us in government, we have been seriously concerned about this. And that is why the effort that we are putting now. And we need a nationwide campaign. And we will rely on the media, the ability to talk about these things. And for us as a government, we want to use the media. We have to provide, funding. We have to allocate certain amount of funding so that we can get this issue out there to the public. The menace that it has become, the impact it is having on our young, and the impact it will have on future productivity, the economic viability. It will have health issues. The cost to the country is unimaginable if we do not address this. And that is why this government is very, very serious, and we are not going to leave any stone unturned, to address this fundamental problem.
As a deterrent, can we do something in the future? And I'm just asking, before people are employed at a workplace, to ensure they get drug tests. I've asked the question in relation to drivers, public service vehicle drivers, because there's been questions raised about some taxi drivers or bus drivers. They allegedly taking methamphetamine to stay awake all night, and the dangers that go with it, the reckless driving and the careless driving, which can result in death. Can some new modern laws be looked at in relation to deterrence as well?
No, I think that's a very important and pertinent question. And as I said to you earlier, The Home Minister has already announced that, or he's suggested that there should be a national inquiry, because once we have that, we can then connect all the dots. We can find where the problems are, where the change in law is needed. And I think, and that is something that, in my view, and I think as quite rightly pointed out by the Home Minister, needs to be urgently done. And then, on the basis of all the recommendations, all the information, all the knowledge gathered, all the kind of things that you're suggesting, Vijay, nobody is talking about it, and nobody has the data. Nobody knows how many drivers do this. What is the extent of the problem? So a good national inquiry, as suggested by the Home Affairs Minister, can inform us better and allow us to make policy laws to ensure that we address this fundamental problem.
How quickly can we address to ensure those who are uninformed about the highly addictive drugs like methamphetamine and what it can do to them and their families? How quickly are you planning to roll out with things and to go out to ensure people clearly we can save people from going into this dangerous habit?
We should do that tomorrow, Vijay. We should use people like yourselves, to actually talk about this, and so I think it's a very important point that you've made, and it's something that I'm going to go back and look at, how the Ministry of Home Affairs and all the stakeholders that can be brought together on board. We should use them to make sure that we get this information out as soon as possible.
Just another issue on drugs. We know that we've got corrupt police officers within the force. We've got drugs missing from the evidence room, the most recent one at Totongo police station. We've got people trying to scrape off some of the methamphetamine during the bust and and these are police officers. We've got people that have said that a certain division, I think the Western Division, were not part of the raids that were earlier conducted. The police commissioner, acting police commissioner, definitely is getting overwhelmed in relation to these other issues, because at the end of the day, the force can be leaking the information from those officers who may be compromised as well. Yeah. How are you dealing with it?
Look, Vijay, I don't want to get into those details. I think the Minister for Home Affairs has been on record, talking about corruption within the force. I think he's already laid out his intention to address some of those fundamental issues, and I'm sure that he is aware of all these issues and that actions are being taken. I can see that myself, and I'm pretty sure that he is not going to leave anything behind, to address this. So it's something that you should invite him here, and he'll give you more details.
He's scheduled for a straight talk in the next 3 weeks, so we're looking forward to that. Just in relation
and by that time, I'm sure he'll have a lot more to tell you as to what the
I'm just talking to you as the Deputy Prime Minister, because it's part of the overall plan. Also, it comes into play. I know you cannot go into investigations, but the other issue is about breaking down and destroying drug syndicates, where it's been said that even some politicians, those in authority, officials, police and others involved in pharmaceutical companies, how can a coordinated approach be taken, and to ensure that our police are well equipped? I know Australian Federal Police is helping out, but what is being done to ensure this is destroyed?
Well, I think it's a very important and perhaps challenging question as well. And as I said, the government is determined. We have, as a government, provided full support to the Minister for Home Affairs, and obviously he is working with the police. As you said quite rightly, we are also seeking help from our development partners. Because, as you said, the problem is overwhelming. The police, the institutions that are at the forefront of addressing this issue and making sure that we can stop some of these, networks from going any further, and making sure that they are able to survive I think as the Minister of Home Affairs said, that in the short to medium term, these networks will have to be destroyed. And as you said earlier, the way in which the community is coming, and giving information, is very encouraging, because it shows that over the years, there was this fear, there was this network which were able to keep things among themselves, and maybe with the support of politicians and those in authority at that time. And obviously some of those things are coming out now, and I'm hoping that more will come out, and that the police would be in a very strong position. We obviously would be looking at providing additional resources to the police in the next budget, specifically in areas such as addressing the whole issue of drug and other problems within the institutions that are. We are obviously strengthening our FRCS, border control. We've had meetings with the FRCS, our customs. In fact, today I had a meeting with the chairman and the acting CEO and the head of the customs to actually hear from FRCS some of the measures and the improvements that we could do to avoid any suggestions that there might be avenues where drug could be passing through customs or other agencies. So these are all whole of government effort that we are putting in to make sure that we break the network immediately.
What is your plan for education? Just the education sector, very critical for us, gets the most amount of money. Concerns are being raised about our curriculum, and in cases right from primary to secondary, even university education, where people come out and they're not work ready, the discipline is not there, or the curriculum does not fit with what is being taught, even up to the university level at times. What is being done at primary, secondary and university level?
Vijay, just before I talk about, I think you raised an important point about quality. Just give you some statistics. There are 873 early childhood institutions, 738 primary schools and 176 secondary schools. Out of these, only 13 schools are government owned, while the rest are all faith-based, community-owned schools. And what happened over the last several years, I don't know, that was madness. All that partnership between government, faith-based organizations, community organizations, parents was broken. And so a lot of the problems of quality, of resources, of abuse in the system, discipline, has come out as a result of that breakdown. So we as a government recognize that this model actually provides a very good opportunity for us to work with community organizations. So that's the first thing we've done. Now the management feels much freer. They are more engaged. That engagement was broken. So in terms of accessibility, we have almost 100% primary enrollment, which means that over the years, and this has been the feature, this is not under some Fiji-first government. In fact, in the 70s and 80s, the accessibility was very good. Secondary school is about 80%, so we need to improve accessibility there. But then putting children into school is one thing, but making sure that we have quality education. And for quality education, you need quality teachers, well-trained teachers. And again, that area was also broken. The system that was there before in terms of
great teachers who can inspire students to do well.
Great teachers, I was trained as a teacher, and we went through a much better, proper training process. We had to go and teach in schools before you get your degree. You get assessed by professors. You get to prepare plans. So the quality of teachers that were coming out, some of it was broken, partly because of deliberate government policy. The other big problem, Vijay, that we have, and you go and talk to any parent in Suba, any teacher in Suba, particularly in the urban areas, Suba, Nusori, Nabwa areas, staff-student ratio. I mean, I was the president of primary school in Tamavua for some years, and I know that in each classroom there were 45 to 55 students in one class. And one teacher told me one day, he said, say, we don't teach. I said, then what do you do? He said, oh, we end up just supervising the students because, you talk to somebody here, then somebody does something on. So the class sizes, in the last 15 or 20 years, you tell me how many new schools have been built in the Subanasori area. When we know that population has been increasing, people have been moving into the urban areas. So we have prioritized this. The Ministry of Education is looking at that. We've got support from the Australian government as well. We are looking at how we can add more classrooms, and this is a immediate priority for us. So in the National Development Plan, in the next 3 years, our objective would be to build not just new schools, new classrooms, more teachers, so that the staff-student ratio is much lower. Imagine, teaching one teacher in a classroom, in a primary school, having 50 students. The amount of time and effort that you would be able to provide to, okay, the real bright ones, they might manage. But those who need more attention, those who need a bit of hand-handling, hand-holding, you don't have time to do that. So
just ticking off the boxes.
We immediately recognized that when we came into government, and we have put in a plan, a process, and hopefully in 3 years we would be able to add more classrooms to the existing schools, and if necessary build new schools.
Some people may say you just keep saying the previous government all the time. What's your message to them?
Well, this is, how can I not talk about the previous government when a doctor comes out in the CWM hospital and says, we need 500 more beds. We have had the population increasing. This is not something that just happened yesterday. And suddenly people are coming to me now and saying, we need new classrooms. We need to reduce the class size. This didn't happen in the last 12 months. This didn't happen in the last 6 months. So in order to explain the problem and explain why we have to do this, you have to tell the people. People need to understand what was there, what did we inherit. So I have absolutely no problem in talking about what was there, what we inherited, and what we are trying to do. And I just want to say to the people, we've been in government for a year. There are things that we have already done, in terms of education, making sure that there is accessibility. We provided $200. We've set up a new scholarship. All this criticism, all this fear that was created about the scholarship, writing of tails low. We have actually now realized that this is one of the best schemes that we have implemented. In fact, with a lower, perhaps a lower amount of money that was spent by the previous government on TELS, and not having a proper human resource plan to be able to get. So some of the things that we've done is actually working now, and I want to say to the people, we just need a little bit of time, a little bit of patience out there from our people as well. But we appreciate, people's concern on these issues. And one of the good things that we feel about being in government right now is that we are happy that the people are actually free now. There are more people coming out and highlighting the problem. And so when they say, what have you done in 12 months, 14 months, they're right, they ought to ask us that. But they also have to understand that there are things that we cannot just do it in 12 months. There are things that we have started. There are things that might need time to do. So I think people do understand that, and we appreciate that.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Okay, set. It's hooked up now.
Are you ready to take your lie detector test?
Sit. Ready.
He's lying.
Why are you lying to me?
I'm not lying to you again.
Liar!
So, I wouldn't lie to you guys, honestly.
Really? Con man.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. I need you to stop all your little silly games and tell me what I want to know.
I don't know what you want to know.
Gorim, body bluffing.
You tell me what's the least popular radio station in Fiji?
FM 96. Huh? Yeah?
You lie.
Share. Eh?
I'ma kick back when you fake like that. I'm a head out of the game, I don't play that back. Would you let me go? No, you never come back. I'ma be that best that you never had. I'ma kick back when you never.
Ni sambulo binakatale nan renreng ngamodengu en VTFM ngono mlito kani micron
Rox nabuta out mama. Ayaw mikan galon bola how may wish so mitagi chikalango bing demis ka kaya tadina.
Oy, ono nung salan di san demis telo ko.
Ako ngor ko pamoy. Oy, ako ngor ko pamutak. Tama ko ko ni.
Aus dum dum tarwe ko.
Right.
Quando manda ke baka iko me lewa.
Iya.
En vi dam baka na mutai.
Se mera manda ke dola lube ko se ro se vida na lube. Ko elo tilo. Ola sanga manda mo la sami kemra mo ro ni bimbi umay.
Nandrenga modengu en VTFM en beto korbe na katsugane Punjas proud sponsors of the Fijian Ruango micron do.
Rox nabuta out mama. Ayaw mikan galon bola. Namaka.
Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad. Professor Prasad, many questions have come through, and thank you for addressing them. And we know that people have many questions. After all, this is a national development plan. Where we have come from, where are we going, asking straight questions on Straight Talk. And we believe that we may need another session to really go through many sectors that we have to talk about, and we will also be inviting Professor Prasad back for that, about water infrastructure. We know that the Fiscal Review Committee had stated through the Water Authority of Fiji's a report, the request that they wanted. We need $800 million in the next 4 years or so in relation to the dilapidated infrastructure for WEF that needs to be fixed to keep up with the demand. What is being done about that?
So Vijay, that's as you would have noticed in our last budget, we did provide adequate funding. One aspect of the funding was to ensure that the Viria project and associated costs were met and that it would be completed. And that was a project, that was a good project started by the Fiji First government. And obviously we took that as a good project, and it's now being completed, it's been done. The issues surrounding the landowners, according to the Minister for Public Works, that's been resolved. The water has started flowing, they have tested the water flow. It's going into areas in Nasori and areas surrounding Nasori. And we are told that once it is fully commissioned, it will resolve a lot of the lingering, water problems in many parts of Suva. So that would be a very, very welcome development. What we are also looking at there are of course issues about wastewater, sewerage, of old pipes. In Fiscal Review Committee, you quite rightly pointed out, talked about how much water was being lost, the value of water that was being lost, and it was put to somewhere around 50%. Now, all that, as they rightly pointed out, needs additional funding. So as a government, we in the last budget, we allocated additional funding, a total maintenance budget of about $200 million. A significant portion of that would go into looking at how we can improve some of the facilities that would address some of the immediate concerns. But going forward, there's work being done, in terms of looking at how we can actually get a well thought out, step-by-step process to ensure that water availability, consistent supply of water in all parts of the country. There are obviously issues around Nandi. I inspected a number of projects, particularly the two in Nandi. Once they come on board, I went to Ba. That dam and the water catchment area is about to be completed. So once all that are done, and we provided support for those completion, we feel that a lot of the urban area water problems, particularly in Nandi, Suba, in Ba, and in parts of Lotoka, would be resolved. Then we are going to have a good program of making sure that rural water supply, rural roads, rural infrastructure, all integrated, can be improved. So we brought PWD back. We put in $5 million. They are now getting into a process. It has taken a bit of time because all the infrastructure that was there, as part of the old PWD was basically destroyed. So we're getting that so we can fix some of those, small requirements, projects, concerns of people in the rural areas. So that's our plan for water in the country.
Fiji Roads Authority, this is about infrastructure development. There's been concerns in the past getting about $500 million budgets per year. What is being done to ensure we get value for money?
Well, Vijay, that Fiji Roads Authority and how it was managed was another story. As you know, when we came into government, we realized that Fiji Roads Authority had spent all its year's budget in 6 months. So by the time we got into government in December, basically, FRA not only had no money, but had actually owed money to the contractor.
Which government does that? That they say you got
exactly. I mean, this
the new budget was from August 1st.
Exactly.
So in 4 months, you've seen that there was no money left for FRA.
Exactly, and this is what people need to understand. When we talk about what happened in the past, and we have to start from there, because if we don't talk about that, we can't. And what we did in the first 6 months before the budget is to provide additional funding, from within the existing budget through redeployment, and we tried to fix as much as we can. Some of the contractors were not very happy that they were not being paid. When we did the budget and we got the FRA to look at it, we realized that a lot of the work that was done, and some of them were done at exorbitant cost. The value for money was never a consideration in many of those decisions. We now see that we are actually getting value for money. We've got a good chairman. You see the quality of roads. I mean, I know for a while, I appreciate, and we are sorry that people had to put up with, quality of roads that was not very good, because if we had not gone through that exercise, Vijay, we would not have been able to bring value for money. Now, if you go to the King's Road, you go to the Queen's Road, you look at some of the road that is being tar sealed and done, is actually quality. and we are getting value for money. And some of those things are done in some cases by the same contractors at a lower cost. So which means that a lot of the costs were hyped up. I don't know how it was happening, what was some of the processes, and we know the loopholes. We have closed that gap. Similarly, apart from roads, we had the construction implementation unit within the Ministry of Finance. It was set up as part of a response to Cyclone Winston, but it took a permanent role, and a lot of the construction work, while legally, there might not be any problem, but we had a lot of consultants, variations in the amounts, and so we spent a lot of money in projects which were not also priority. So building, spending $65 million in Queen Elizabeth Drive as opposed to other priorities. And one of the things we're doing in the National Development Plan, and we've got a new guideline for public infrastructure, where you have to go through a proper process that was approved by Cabinet very early in our term last year in April, so that we can look at the opportunity cost. We can say, all right, what is more important, to build this new road, or build another hospital, or build 2 health centers, or build more additional classrooms? So the opportunity cost, and this is what those who don't understand perhaps economics don't get it, and I think that was the case previously, is that if you put money into A, you have to forgo something else, because you never have enough to do everything that you want to do. So priority and choosing a priority project with some of these good indicators is very, very important. Most organizations do that, businesses do that, in a home you do that. You have only a certain amount of budget. You decide, what you want to do. You want to buy a Prado, or you want to buy a basic car, or you want to build a house. You can't do everything at once. And so governments also work like that.
Some things that are glaringly obvious. $65 million road that you said, Queen Elizabeth Drive. It wasn't done too long ago, where when Mysore Park was done, footpaths were done, all of a sudden the same things were graded again. A whole lot of cost there. But the other thing that I'm asking, and some people must be thinking, okay, why are you asking this? But the new road has been narrowed down with wide islands in the middle, and people say it looks way overdone. Are we future focused? Our population is growing, meanwhile we are building narrower roads.
Well, I mean, I don't know the actual how the actual assessment was done, whether it was with the objective of making Queen Elizabeth Drive a place for people to stop by and have fun and enjoy the beauty and the scenery, and so there could have been different objectives. So I don't want to sort of say, but what is the important point, Vijay, is this, that when you have a situation where you have a lot of other important priorities, which means like building more schools, more classrooms, improving the facilities at CWM hospital or the maternity unit, why would you want to put 65 million into a project, no matter how well intentioned it is, no matter how good the objective might be but what is your priority? You don't have unlimited amount of dollars, resources. So priority for government and how I think what happened in the previous government, a lot of these novelty type projects was being conceived. Engineers would come, the architects would come, consultants would come, that you need to build this size hospital in Kasi because somebody has this grand idea. But the priority would have been to upgrade Singatoka Hospital, put in more equipment there, make sure that resources are available. That would have saved a better purpose. So that is why I said that choosing a project, governments don't have unlimited budget. We have a limited budget. And when you have a limited budget, you decide what is more important, A or B or C. And there is a criteria to do that.
Questions about road humps. Road humps removed on Princess Road at Tamavua village some time back. Road humps up again. The value for the dollar there, that you're removing something, then you're putting back on. Is there an assessment being done for those kind of things that's still going on?
Yeah, I don't know the rationale why it was taken out and then put back, but there could be good reasons why it's been put back. Maybe it's a request from the community, but you're right. I mean, the point that people want to make, and I think they are good points.
Why I'm asking if they were needed, why remove it in the first place?
Exactly, so it's a valid question, and I don't know, Vijay, but what I do want to take from that question is this important lesson that good planning, good assessment of the cost benefit, the opportunity cost, value for money. These are important considerations for any government and any project that government undertakes.
There's another question here. People asking what number can they call for abuse of government vehicles and emergency lights plus reckless driving?
I don't have an emergency number within the Ministry of Finance, but I'm sure I know people can raise these issues with the respective ministries or government departments that they can identify, from where the vehicle originated, or because most vehicles have numbers, but I don't have a number to give you straight. But
so they can contact the ministry responsible or the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, Ministry responsible or Ministry of Finance straight away.
Okay, and also there's questions in relation to your audits and compliance checks. What is being done to ensure that those abusing taxpayers' funds are held accountable as not having proper audits and checks and balances will result in corruption and abuse?
That again, Vijay, is an important question. We are obviously reviewing the Audit Act as part of our policy reform agenda. We want to make sure, and I think the Auditor General's office is trying very hard to catch up with the backlog, because when you we used to raise that in the opposition. We're still debating reports, audited reports that are 10 years old. So it doesn't serve any purpose. I mean, the work has already been done, the money might have been wasted already. So what we're trying to do, and we are imploring on the Auditor General's office, that we need to get rid of all the backlog so that we are up to date. These things, audits and compliance and checks. And we're also making sure we have our own internal audit team within the Ministry of Finance. We want to make sure that when things are happening, that there is a check, there is monitoring, there is evaluation of expenditure, so that there is no wastage, so that you don't find that at the end of the day that there was wastage, that intervention can take place while the expenditure is being incurred or while the project is being undertaken.
Questions are being asked in relation to, they're saying if Professor Prasad can look into it, if not already being done, in relation to things that happened after 2006 coup and before the 2014 election, some of the things like the Rewa Dairy consultancy and government ministers' salary payments being made through a private accounting firm after the 2006 coup and before the 2014 elections. Are you looking into that?
Not specifically, Vijay, but this is, I can't give you any specific sort of cases, but as I said, the government as a whole is making sure that all the investigations were appropriate in a transparent, open and accountable manner without prejudice is undertaken. Some of the things, some of these investigations may be slow, but where we feel that they are appropriate, that needs to be done, it will be done, and it's being done.
Professor Prasad, thank you very much for making yourself available and answering the questions on Fiji Village Straight Talk. We know that the National Development Plan consultations are underway, and the people can also go to the consultations and raise these priority issues for you as an individual in this country, as a citizen of this country, for your family, for your household, for your community, to ensure that your voices are heard. And as Professor Prasad, your closing remarks in terms of the consultations, how long it will go for and why people should take part?
Well, all I wanted to say to everyone, this is a great effort by the government. We are looking at a very, very well-meaning, well thought out, well consulted, national development plan. And that is why we are providing this very good opportunity for all our people in all the different settlements, villages, areas. And so I urge all of you to take this opportunity and please go to the consultation venues and freely and openly, give your thoughts and ideas so that our team can collect those views and collect them in a way that would be useful for us as a government in coming out with a very well thought out 3-year, 5-year and 20-year development plan.
That's your show for tonight, and until next week, have a great evening.